The people should be better off, and the country should prosper and enslave its enemies. The king's existing subjects did not seem to be of much use to him. They merely offered advice and collected salaries in return. But their advice lacked the impact the king desired. This thought often troubled him. One day, to resolve this dilemma, the king decided to take a trip to the forest with his courtiers. Perhaps nature would lead him to some answers. The king reached the forest and, after much enjoyment and recreation, began his journey back. On the way, he came across a strange sight. A man was sitting under a large tree, talking to himself, appearing insane and strange from a distance. The king paused. The thought crossed his mind. Either this man was insane or a man of extraordinary intelligence, lost in his own world. Intrigued, the king, along with his courtiers, approached the man and began conversing with him. The man appeared to be half mad, but his words held a strange charm. The king gently asked, "Young man, are you mad to be talking to yourself?" This madman would save the king's entire kingdom. No one could have imagined this. The madman smiled and replied, "You are mad, and so are all your subjects. I am perfectly fine. I only want this forest to be cut down and magnificent palaces built here. And I myself will be the king of those palaces." There was a strange confidence and boldness in his words that seemed beyond the reach of an ordinary madman. The king and his courtiers were astonished by his response, for such words were only those of a madman or someone possessed of valor and extraordinary wisdom. The king stared at him silently for a while. Then the courtiers were consulted about the man, and their hidden greed immediately rose. They began to converse among themselves. Some feared that if this man became the king's chief advisor, they would become subservient to him, diminishing their importance. One courtier quietly remarked, "This is a danger. He might overpower us all." Another quickly added, "No, he's more than half mad. We shouldn't expect any intelligence from him. So tell the king to take him with us." The courtiers believed that this man would do them no harm. But God had other plans. Finally, the courtiers advised the king to take him to the palace. If he turned out to be brave, he would be useful. If he really was mad, they would release him later. The king, heeding the courtiers' advice, uttered the Bismillah and, with some pressure, persuaded the man to come with him. But on the way, the man suddenly turned his horse in the opposite direction and tried to flee. The king and his courtiers immediately set after him. With great strength, they brought him back under control and set off for the palace along the same route. As they reached the palace, a crowd of people had gathered there. Everyone was shouting joyfully and congratulating the king. The king and his courtiers were astonished and asked what the congratulations were for. The people replied, "Your Majesty, on the route you took to hunt the lion, a huge enemy army was lying in wait, armed with formidable weapons. We were convinced you would never return." Hearing this, everyone's eyes displayed a mixture of surprise, gratitude, and worry. The people then exclaimed happily, "Your Majesty, you were very clever. You changed your route." The king silently looked at the madman and thought to himself, "This man is truly something special." Then he turned to the courtiers and ordered, "Hurry up and prepare a wonderful chair for this man. He will be with me from today on." The courtiers, already terrified, immediately spoke up, "Your Majesty, this man is mad. He might harm you. Wise men like us should be with you." But the king dismissed their words and said seriously, "No, this man is wiser than all of you. He saved us from a dangerous enemy by remaining silent. This is the mark of wise men. If it weren't for him, none of you would have known that the enemy was lurking on the road. Our safety is due to his intelligence." Hearing this, the madman smiled and proudly sat down on the chair placed next to the king. But at this moment, a new tension arose in the palace. The courtiers who had been occupying those chairs for centuries, generations after generations, could not bear to have a stranger, and a man known as Mad, sit next to them. He began to resent the man, and a web of conspiracies began to form against him. But no power in the world can bring down those whom Allah bestows with honor. The power of honor and disgrace rests solely in his hands. Hearing this story will strengthen your faith in Allah's power. Allah can demote a king to a beggar and elevate a madman to a king. And when he wishes to elevate someone, all the world's plots fail. How do the courtiers' plots, their jealousy, and opposition bring honor to that madman? Let's find out. One morning, when the palace was in session, a few members of the public stepped forward and approached the man everyone called a madman. They politely said, "Brother, peace be upon you. We wish to discuss something important with you." The public replied, "Brother, you have no idea of our king's principles and courtly etiquette. We just want you to avoid taking any step in misunderstanding that will result in punishment." The madman said in surprise, "What do you mean? I will be punished. I never asked to be brought to the palace. What kind of trouble is this? Take me back." Hearing this, a slight wave of happiness passed across the faces of the subjects. They thought their plan was succeeding. But due to fear of the king, they could not scare him out of the palace. Instead, trying to convince him gently, he said, "Brother, you have no idea what you can get if you obey us." The madman, who was already terrified by the word punishment, immediately got nervous and said, "Okay, tell me what to do." Seeing the opportunity, a scribe, who was a close associate of the king and whose seat was now occupied by the madman, stepped forward and told the courtier, "It's customary in our court that the court begins only when someone slaps the king or does something that awakens the court." The madman, completely lacking in intelligence, immediately retorted, "Oh, it's no big deal. I slapped him, I can even kick the king." The subjects, suppressing their laughter at his foolishness, applauded him and happily encouraged him further. "When the king sits on his chair, go and slap him hard on the neck. Then you will see the king will be so pleased that he will bestow numerous honors upon you." The madman mistakenly agreed. The next day, when the court was held and the king was seated on his throne, the madman stepped forward with utmost ease and slapped the king's neck with such force that the king's crown fell away. But as soon as the crown fell to the ground, a dangerous scorpion emerged from beneath it. The king immediately stood up in shock, and it didn't take him long to realize that if he had placed the crown on his head, the scorpion would have stung him. With a heart full of gratitude, the king embraced the madman. Embracing him happily, the king said, "My dear, this is the only person who truly loves me. If he hadn't slapped me, today might have been my last day." By the king's orders, a lavish feast was arranged for the madman, along with a beautiful palace. The subjects, already jealous of him, became even more worried. Fear gripped their hearts that if this continued, this madman would inherit their thrones. So they began to whisper among themselves, "This man is rising too fast. Something must be done. Otherwise, all our honor and status will be lost." Meanwhile, the half-mad man was thinking to himself, "These subjects are truly truthful and compassionate people. Look at the powerful advice they gave him." He happily resolved in his heart that from now on, he would accept whatever they said. The next day, after consulting again, the subjects returned to the madman's palace. They were all seething with anger, but their faces were plastered with smiles. One of the advisors began his conversation gently. "Brother, how did you like yesterday's plan? If you hadn't slapped me, the king would have suspected you and perhaps even punished you." The madman, now living comfortably in his palace, smiled and said, "Yes, you people are absolutely wonderful. Your plan changed my fate." The subjects seized the opportunity and laid their next trap. But it's true that whoever is protected by God can be harmed. No matter how many plots they may use against you, if you are truthful and God is with you, no one can harm you. The subjects addressed the madman. "Now listen to one more thing. In the morning, when the court is held and the king is about to sit down, you must immediately pull his chair back. You'll see, you'll receive half the kingdom. This isn't an easy task, but you'll be brave enough to do it." The madman quickly replied, "What about one? I can pull 2 chairs." The subjects, as usual, left, praising him. In the morning, the madman performed what they had instructed him to do. As the king was about to sit down, The madman seized the opportunity and pulled the chair back. But the king, controlling himself, stood up before falling. When he looked back, he was astonished to see that one of the chair's legs had already broken from the inside. The king immediately turned to the madman, embraced him, and said in a loud voice to everyone, "Look how clever and loyal this man is. If it weren't for him, I would have fallen to the ground with my chair and been injured." Then he awarded him the medal, Imtiaz, and appointed him general of his army, and his bravery was once again praised in the court. Seeing this, the subjects were left in a state of shock. Each time those who tried to overthrow him, his prestige only increased. Now, fed up, they began to say to each other, "What a mess this is. We want him punished, the king to be angry and hanged, but he always wins." Seeing the situation slipping out of hand, the conspirators hatched a dark plan, one that could shake the entire kingdom. They decided to secretly contact the neighboring king, provoke him to war, and promise to attack him. But the king was assured that the people were with him. "We will handle everything. All you have to do is kill our general. Leave everything else to us." The subjects sent this conspiratorial letter, and after investigating the other kingdoms, they agreed. Now the only thing left was to convince their king to go to war. So the subjects wounded a few of their men and came before the king saying, "Your Majesty, how long can we wait? If something happens to you tomorrow, the entire kingdom will weep. The enemy attack is imminent. We must decide now." In short, the king sounded the war drum and sent his army, along with the subjects, to battle. Now the commander of the army, Salah, is mad. But even everyone together could do nothing to the madman. They were just laughing behind his back. When they reached the enemy border, the army was fully prepared. When the rumors from both sides entered the forest, the madman ordered everyone to stop. "I will fight the king first," as he was the commander. The entire army stopped. The madman called out loudly, "O king, come out." The enemy king came, and the two stood face to face in the middle of the forest. Suddenly, a bloodthirsty lion emerged from the bushes and attacked the enemy king, who had originally only wanted to wield his sword. He harbored no racial animosity. He immediately charged forward and engaged the lion. After a fierce battle, he killed the lion and brought back the wounded king. The enemy king was covered in blood but survived. Looking at his army, the king declared, "No, there will be no battle. I forgive that commander. He saved my life. He is a very brave and intelligent man. We don't want war, but arrest and imprison the subjects who accompanied him." Hearing this, the madman immediately drew his sword and roared, "Beware of touching any of the counselors." Seeing his loyalty, the king exclaimed to himself, "What a remarkable man! He saves his enemies and forgets himself." The madman became the talk of the kingdom. His bravery and truthfulness won everyone's hearts. The king even offered him his daughter in marriage. The subjects, already jealous, were already jealous. They remained silent upon seeing this scene, but revenge for the humiliation they suffered at every step became their motto. Now the two kingdoms began to unite. Their enmity turned into friendship. But the subjects decided to form another trap. They told each other, "If we don't stop this madman, tomorrow we will all become his slaves. We must destroy him." They all unanimously agreed. But among them was an old advisor, experienced and soft-hearted. He made a remarkable statement. He stood up and spoke with utmost seriousness. "Friends, listen to me carefully. Allah has bestowed a special status, position, and quality upon every person in this world. And remember, to whom Allah bestows honor, no power in this world can take that honor away. Even if you kill him, remember that his honor will only increase. And if you think that his death will restore your lost position, you are mistaken. One day the truth will be revealed, and you will all meet your end. Therefore submit to Allah's will. That is what is best for us." He took a breath and then said softly, "All of you should understand just one thing. He is apparently mad, but Allah has blessed him with a unique quality. Even if fate turns against the entire kingdom, he alone will prevail. Therefore, instead of engaging with him, embrace the truth. The entire people repented of their jealousy, and after some time the madman died, and the people were restored to their status. So, friends, this story may seem like a funny one, but it hides a true truth that we must accept. Truth. Fate and Allah's grace. We too should never envy anyone. Because if someone has achieved a position or status and has achieved success, it may be the result of their hard work. They may have good luck, or they may have qualities that have led Allah to bestow that honor upon them. Try to adopt those qualities, work hard. Embrace the truth. Perhaps you too will get the same respect. But do not be jealous. History is witness to the fact that hypocrites and envious people never succeed. The field always belongs to the truthful people. I hope you have learned a lot from this story. Our channel has excellent and Sabak Amos stories. If you like them, then definitely watch them. If you like this story, then like it. Do share your opinion in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell for more such interesting Sabak Amos stories. Thank you for your support.